वेलकम टू अनदर लाइव स्ट्रीम। आज हम करेंगे समाचार की समीक्षा। एक्चुअली मैंने ये शब्द को गूगल ट्रांसलेट में डाल के देखा था कि व्हाट इज़ द एग्जैक्ट इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ दैट वर्ड। This is a common concept in Dharma Shastras. Anyone who does not follow the duty of their varna becomes a Shudra in the same birth. For example, a Brahmin who does not perform Sandhya Vandanam becomes a Shudra in the same birth and a dog in the next one. There is clear lack of understanding of this concept of varna, but yes, there is a certain element of duty. This concept of fundamental right of expression, so having a right. Now the origin of this having a right comes from this social contract theory. I think it was given by John Locke. He was an English philosopher, political scientist, and he gave this theory of social contract wherein the civilized people who populate a certain area or populate a certain geography, they enter into a contract with people who they will elect to speak on their behalf. That is the whole concept of democracy, having a parliament. Alright. So you are putting people sitting in the parliament, but they sit there by your mandate when you vote. So because you vote them to power, and now they are in possession of a power, that is state power, so there has to be some check on that power. Alright. So to balance the scale, you give power, and in return the state in return protects your fundamental rights. Here is where lies an anomaly, you might say, or a caveat, because when you come to this part of the world, that is Bharat, okay, there is this concept of duty. Now that duty is tied to your varna, the varna in which you were born. So you're supposed to perform certain duties, and then in return you get a right. So the understanding of social contract theory given by John Locke, it must be understood in this context when you apply democratic models of the West, where we can sit and debate about where did democracy start from, but this is the whole concept. So when you come here, where still a lot of not almost, but a majority of our population lives in rural areas. And in rural areas, your day, that is your dincharya, is guided by certain duties you must perform based on the varna that you are from. Thailand chose Lord Hanuman as the official mascot of Asian athletics. Fascist. This in turn reaffirms my earlier argument that majority of our population, they still survive in the rural areas, of course. So this entire idea, this entire model of civilized society functioning on the basis of principles of, let's say, liberalism, secularism, which in turn have come out of enlightenment. So it was based on their perception of society, their perception of worldview. So that model, that is only possible in the urban areas. But when you go to the rural areas, people still greet each other, by various of deities, various of names that they worship on, day-to-day basis. So the entire existence of humanity on the geography of Bharat is, I would say, is contingent on the fact that we are required to abide by certain principles. Those principles come from our deities. Boy jumps a gate to escape a stray dog chasing him, but then he finds more waiting on the other side. He eventually manages to escape safely from all of them. Animals do have I would say the consciousness of animals are more closer to the deity, to the god, than the consciousness of human beings. That is what I think. And they sense. You'll see that usually there are people around us who are naturally more recipient or more attractive to wildlife. There are certain people that you might observe them that whenever they let's say come into a room, whenever they walk in the vicinity of certain animals, those animals are naturally drawn towards them. So if dogs are chasing you down the street, I think you should look within spiritually. But this fellow did right. He did not indulge in violence. He simply just let the dog bark and escaped the situation. Yoga is the way forward. Three red balls in a row now, so the pressure just a little bit on Virat Kohli now. Meanwhile, Kohli on next ball. What does he do? Let's see.
Got balls in a row now. Well, the pressure just a little bit on Virat Kohli now.
He scores a 6 after 3 dot balls. Okay. मायावती, यह बड़े दुख व चिंता की बात है कि पिछले कुछ समय से अकेले यूपी में ही नहीं बल्कि अब तो फिल्मों में भी पंडित को घुसपैठिया बताकर पूरे देश में जो इनका अपमान व अनादर किया जा रहा है तथा जिससे समूचे ब्राह्मण समाज इस समय ज़बरदस्त रोष व्याप्त है, इसकी हमारी पार्टी भी कड़े शब्दों में निंदा करती है। ऐसे एक जाति सूचक फिल्म पर केंद्र सरकार को तुरंत प्रतिबंध लगाना चाहिए, पीएसपी की यह मांग। बहुजन समाज पार्टी, I think this is really bold from Mayawati coming in support of the general category, because the way our political landscape is structured is the majority of the population lies within the bracket of SC, ST and OBC. Okay, figure this. So majority of the population come from SC, ST, OBC. General population, I'd say they are within the 10% bracket. So who exactly is the minority over here? Okay, but the benefits of reservation, they are given to the majority of the population, and the reasoning being that they have been at the receiving end of exploitation and not a good quality of living for the major part of their existence. And this is the reasoning that is given for continued government funding towards reservation and the benefits and the social upliftment of these people. Now, my argument is that if you are giving the benefits to a certain section of the population, which happens to be the majority, what exactly are you giving to the other category? So that you have to maintain the democratic balance. It has to be an even There has to be a status quo between the access of opportunities that an individual has in a nation state. Okay, so when you have given them, a chance, and that this chance is basically funded by the government, that is reservation and so on and so forth. So if you're giving them a chance in a nation state, in a democratic polity, what exactly are you giving to the other part of the population, which by the way happens to be a minority? So what are you giving them to maintain the status quo? This is what I like to call democratic asymmetry. You've given one side certain benefits, but the other side is still, left, unscaffolded. That is the whole argument. But it's good. Politicians usually, refrain from coming out explicitly in support of the general category. But it's big bold of Mayawati to come out and say this. Fine, these are the benefits that are given to the minorities. So let's talk about the minorities within the Arya fold. Mahua Moitra, she definitely is an interesting character. I mean, she's all for theatrics, speaking English like, an English lady, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, English is a foreign language. I like to talk in English because I have been an English teacher since last 5 years, and this is my medium of expression. I also speak in Hindi. मुझे हिंदी में बात करना भी आता है, but I've not practiced it enough. See, it's a default setting for me right now to switch to English. But yes, मुझे हिंदी भी आती है, और I also know my mother tongue, that is Gujarati. So for all those Gujaratis, જે આ સ્ટ્રીમ જોવે છે, Gujarati is my mother tongue, yes. Enough time of male aura farming. Show me female aura farming. Okay, she pretty much invented it. Hello everyone, how are you all? If you are seeing this tweet, request you all to retweet this tweet and follow this account. Please also ask your followers to do the same. Let's connect and fight the evil. Stay tuned for more exposes. I think I have been... No, I have not been. There was his earlier page that I used to follow, and his page got, I think, X took down the page of this fellow. But he is an excellent researcher. I have been reading his threads since the time I got on X. Amazing research work. Nasi is just doing what any other Muslim would do. It's a shame. Yeah, there's no point in talking about that. We all know, at the end of the day, Muslims will support the Muslim cause. There's no changing their opinion. It's now I am looking at our people. Let's change their opinion. Okay? Because there is a certain mold that has been strengthened by years and years of layering of false history, falsehoods, disparaging narratives about our country, and so on and so forth. And the layering is so strong. But now after all these years, we see a chink in the armor of the left. Because you know what, I think the left ideology has given birth to a certain element of, I would say, liberalism. I know this is a very foolish argument to make. Leftist liberals in itself is a wrong thing to say. I myself have learned this very recently. Otherwise, there are plenty of videos of mine in the past that I've in which I've used the term left liberals, but that indeed is a misnomer, I would say. So yes, spread propaganda. She gave the Lithuania an angle to fight. Actually occurred due to personal rivalry. Yeah. What is it? This is what pre-rich looks like. This is Sparta. Weird to see Bezos. Good chief. Whenever I meet prostitutes, they never speak. They inquire about the soul and about God. I also meet many ascetics and monks, and whenever we are alone, they ask about nothing. I was surprised to learn that. Why is nobody talking about this? All the Brahmins have been forced to vacate a village in Darbhanga, Bihar. Were filed against all of them. The intention of this draconian act was never to provide protection, but to take revenge. I mean, that is the loss of this place, Darbhanga, Bihar. And that is, you're setting up grounds for conversion when you drive the priestly class out of your society. Because let's face it, okay? Every Varna has their certain USP that they have established, and they have been protecting all these years. If you look at the capitalist section of the society, that is, they usually come from the Vaishya Varna that we have. Now, they have established businesses. So they will not let the other persons from other Varnas step into their territory. So is with Brahmins, so is with Kshatriyas, so is with Vaishyas, everyone. Alright, so when you speak about that there is a certain section of a Varna that is protecting their own turf, that's what everyone else is doing. So that is the argument that you cannot make. Now over here in this place, that is Darbhanga, Bihar, if you have let go of all the Brahmins from that place, how will you practice your dharma? That is my question to the people who are living there. Okay, your existence within the Arya fold, alright, gets legitimized as a descendant of an Arya or a Aryaputra or Aryan, whichever name that you want to give to it. Okay, it is legitimized through the fact that you conduct certain practices, be it yajna, be it marriages, be it from the point of being born to the point of being dead. There are certain rituals, certain practices that you must undertake or conduct to reaffirm your alliance with the Arya fold or the Arya Dharma. Okay. Now, if you're driving all the Brahmins out of it, how will you practice those rituals? You're left with one option: learn those rituals yourself. Otherwise, you're setting up ground for conversion. Who comes next? So now that they have driven out all the priestly people from that place, how will you practice your dharma? You will not. You will switch over to something else that is more convenient for you to practice. That is how the background of setting up ground, or you're doing groundwork for conversion. That is what it is. Pakistan is a joke. Okay. Moksha, not worshipping, traps us further. Let's leave it at that. This guy is back. It's true. I think the quality of debate in our parliament has gone down the drain. You don't see quality discussions or debates in our parliament. Yeah. It should be. It should be made everything that is, because these things are is our intellectual legacy. No one person should be, stopped from inheriting this legacy that we have. This is where this entire discussion of appropriating heroes. Now, people discuss usually that Biva Sakpal, that we fondly recall as B.R. Ambedkar, he has been appropriated by certain section of a population for political gains. But we rarely talk about our cultural heroes. Okay, you can have. There is one photo right behind me, that is Shivaji Bhosle. That is number one. Number two is Maharana Pratap, and there are countless warriors. Okay, you move across this geography, this holy homeland, and you will find countless people who have given their life for the cause of betterment of dharma or the Arya dharma. But now, since those cultural heroes, they belonged to a certain varna, now people explicitly claim that that hero, or the pride that comes from the deeds that they did, are only or a specific repository of a certain population belonging to a certain strata of a population. I would say, I'm using too many fancy words, but to summarize it, that these cultural icons that we have, they have also been appropriated. I would not say misappropriated, they've also been appropriated by populations. Okay, so that needs to go. That is what is in a way motivating conversions, I would say, because as an individual, if you don't have a hero to look up to, let's say you are somebody from whatever varna, okay, it could either be a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, could be from either of the varnas. Okay, so you will have certain heroes that you look up to, and only very few of them are very popular. Okay, and since there is a lack of a role model to a person to look up to, there is no lack of role model, there is, but since there is no popularization of those role models, so people tend to be like, okay, let me just switch over sides. When you switch over sides, you have these false idols, so those invaders, that marauders, that they came here, and then you have this false sense of satisfaction that, oh, now I have a role model, I will look up to him, and then I'll get all the pride that comes with conversion. You can comment if you disagree with me, but this is how I see things. Teaser was released, but today the film is releasing. I should drink some water. Look at his choice of words, the way he said about the Epstein files too. There's more going on. What can you expect from a person with such a rotten and corrupt mindset? Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. The conversation instantly switches to minority benefits when you talk about, conversions and everything. Then the discussion goes in the direction of minority benefits, that since they belong to minority, so on and so forth. Then who exactly is the minority? If you're going down that line of discussing about, the numbers, because this is usually the argument that is put forward by Christians, Muslims, and everybody, that we are a minority and give us some benefits. All right, then let's look at other minorities as well. Okay, the general category, they are in the minority. Okay, so are we mature enough to have this discussion? That is the question that I ask. There is an angle, yes. Russia and China, there is an angle, because China, being a communist country, has some or the other intellectual, I would say, their thoughts align on certain things, although Russia is now a democracy. But there is some baggage left over from the Cold War era, I would say, and some connections that are based on communistic leanings. So there is definitely convergence of interests in geopolitical matters, because because there is alignment in ideology. I don't know who this fellow is. I don't know why. I find Angelina Jolie cringe. And yeah. Yes, there was a photo I saw on X where uh, there's a list of people who were in the committee that drafted UGC guidelines. So that matter now is sub judice, that is being heard in court or will be heard in court. But in those names, I could see these two names, Sudhanshu Trivedi and Sambit Patra. I think Sudhanshu Trivedi was not a part of the committee, but Sambit Patra definitely was. He's the one who actually helped in framing those guidelines. Now, I don't exactly know what was his specific tasks that he performed during the drafting of these rules, but his involvement says, and his silence on the matter, if he has not spoken today, maybe he will speak in the coming days, but he's usually very vocal in the parliament, but this time his choosing of silence definitely raises some questions. Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate brings up Piers Morgan being mentioned in Epstein files and made him look very uncomfortable. I want every person in the Epstein files, including the innocent people, including you, to be investigated. Yeah. Swami Ganatra. Okay. Why are we this way? A guide to Shastras. Arya Shastras, yes. Alright guys, I think that's about it for today's live stream. You can check out my other content on Instagram if you like to read. There are some amazing articles that I've written on LinkedIn. You can check out my LinkedIn profile for those articles, and you can look at my work experience, things that I do as a teacher. There are other videos on my YouTube channel about learning English, about learning math, so on and so forth. So you can check out my playlists as well. I also do a little bit of gaming, so there will be some gaming content over there as well. You can follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on X. That's it. Thank you for joining. I'll see you in the next stream.